For better or worse, I'm a talker. Listen, and not just a little bit. Child, I run on at the mouth. From time to time, there's something I'm thinking I should talk to my true crime friends about that is not exactly true crime related, although it does involve the police coming to my house. And so these little videos I call Apropos of Nothing. We wasn't talking about this. I don't even think we were talking about deer, but I was like, I gotta remember to tell my true crime friends about that thing that happened that one time that I think is very interesting and possibly hilarious. Why do I do this to myself? I put the crown on and I'm like, I'm gonna do this whole video wearing a crown, and then the flashes get me, child. It is not easy being in your 50s. So anyway, apropos of, oh, wait. First, you gotta like the video, every single one. It turns out when you come in the door, just hit the like button and then we can sit back and relax and enjoy a little story time. So look, apropos of nothing. I'm sitting here minding my business. It's the pandemic, right? So I'm all holed up here in my house and I'm just looking out the window watching. See, look, that window right there looks onto my backyard and you can see stuff. For my dogs, I call it reality TV. They see squirrels, they see foxes, they see groundhogs, and many deer, occasionally a skunk. We don't like the skunk, but deer roam through the yard all the time, but they roam through my neighbor's yards too. So I'm out on the front yard one day and I see a deer walking down the sidewalk because the deer here are polite. They obey traffic rules, unclear. So this deer is walking real slow. And I was like, that is not like a deer to walk slow. But he's walking real slow and it's kind of big. And I didn't think anything about it. So later, I'm sitting at home enjoying the pandy and it walks into my backyard. I was like, that's that slow ass deer. Oh, wait. Is that deer sick? Okay, sick deer. I don't want you in my yard. So it goes to my yard and plops right down in the middle of my yard and sits there. And I was like, deer sleep in our yard from time to time, but normally they do it back in the edge against like the forest. This was right in the middle of the yard. This is not a good sign. And normally when the deer are out there, because my dogs enjoy it, I send the dogs out. And I have very small dogs, but they're very vicious and they run. It's their favorite thing. And then they chase the deer out of the yard and everybody gets some cardio. We get excited watching them and the dogs get all their steps in. So I was like, but that deer looks sick. And God forbid they catch anything, because if they catch anything, it's going to be a situation. I'm going to be very upset. So I did not send the dogs to chase the deer out of the yard. On reflection, maybe I should have. But this dog sits in the yard and I was like, wait. He looks like he's sleeping. Oh God. Oh, please don't. So he leans over and starts to look very dead. And I was like, you couldn't die in the forest. It's just right there. A few more steps. Okay, it was like a lot of steps, but like you could probably rally. And so for like 2-3 hours, the deer is out there and I'm watching it and I'm like, it's dead. Oh, no. It's not dead. Oh yeah, it looks kind of dead. So then after a while, I see it get up and it stumbles around the yard like it's drunk and walks right over to the very edge of my yard, right by the forest. And I was like, a few more steps. And it lays down. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just resting. Okay, it's tired. It's a pandemic. Maybe it's taking a break. Please. It just was on a walk and it needed a rest. And then it flopped over and looked very dead. And I sent the dogs out and the dogs didn't even notice it, that because now it's at the edge of the yard. I was like, a long nap? Maybe it's taking a very long nap. Turned out it was taking a dirt nap, but we didn't know that at the time. So I was like, who do you call? So I called the police non-emergency number like, hey, Officer Friendly, listen, there's a deer in my yard that may or may not be dead. What do we do about that? And they were like, we don't know. Deer are here all the time. I was like, no. Dead deer, though. It's dead. And they were like, okay, what's your address? We'll send an officer out. And I was like, oh, God. Okay. So I know that there's a rule in town that you can't shoot the deer. Also, most people around here don't have guns, but I have a son who is really good with a gun and very much enjoys shooting them very much. Probably too much. Are we safe? Anyway, so the cop comes out and he was like, ma'am, there's a problem. First of all, why do all police officers look 12? Maybe it's just because all my doctors look 12 too. But anyway, the cop is like, ma'am, there's a deer. I said, there's a deer in your backyard. He's like, yes, you reported a deer. I was like, it's in the backyard and I think it might be dead. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, what did I give it a physical? I don't know. I was like, it was walking. I tell him the whole story. And he's like, ma'am, if it's not dead, we might have to shoot it. No, he said, if it's not dead, I might have to shoot it. And I just went, uh-huh. And I said, well, listen, we would have shot it ourselves, but it's my understanding that it's illegal to shoot a deer in the city limits. I think you could do it with a bow and arrow, but we don't have a bow and arrow. But if you would like us to shoot it, like, we could get a shot. He was like, man, okay, man, I'm going to go check out the situation. I have never seen a more terrified police officer in my entire life. Sir, what if actual crime happens in this town? You scared of a maybe dead deer? Yes, it is 3 times your weight, but still, it's laying down. So the deer's laying down. The officer walks back there like on tippy toes. And I'm like, here we go. This is our town's finest. Great. So, he looks at it, and then he picks up a stick from my yard and throws a stick at it, and it just lays there. And so I see him slowly walk back to the front of my house, knocks on my door again. I was like, yes, sir. But, he's standing like real far away down the walkway because it is still the pandemic, and he don't know what kind of germs we got up in this house. And he was like, ma'am, I'm going to need to call a supervisor. And I was like, oh, do you need to shoot it? My son can shoot it because he enjoys shooting things. He's like, no, ma'am, you can't. You cannot fire a gun inside the city limits. And I was like, really? I mean, I don't know that my son has a permit, but he's real good at guns. So don't ask me how I know. None of your business. So I was just like, okay. So then 2 cops show up because, small town. My whole cul-de-sac is flooded with police officers who have now unsnapped their guns, and they're out there and they stand there and have a conversation for a real long time. And then they confirm that it is dead. Did somebody take out a stethoscope? Did they look for signs of life? I saw a couple of them throw things at it, and it just laid there. And they were like, the supervisor comes and knocks on my door. I was like, yes, it's dead, right? He was like, yes, ma'am, it's dead. I was like, oh, it's too bad you didn't have to shoot it. He was like, ma'am, I don't. Okay. So I was like, so what do we do now? He's like, well, you have to call, Sam Smith down there at the Parks Department and get the deer removed. But because it's on private property, they may charge you. If it's on public property, then the city will take it away. And I was like, so could we just drag it to the front of the house? I have a very large yard. I was like, could we just drag it to the front of the house? Or could y'all just drag it back to the forest? Because literally 3 more feet and it's in the forest. And then all the wildlife can enjoy it. Do foxes eat deer? I don't know. And so he was like, yeah, you got to call the guy over at Parks and Rec. So I'm like, okay. So I call Parks and Rec, and Parks and Rec is like, yeah, this is not us. You have to call sanitation. So I call sanitation, and they're like, no, that's not us. You have to call Game and Wildlife, etc., etc., etc. And so I spent the rest of that day and part of the next day making phone calls to city officials who were like, yeah, it's going to cost $100 to remove it because it's private property. And I was like, that's annoying, but okay. And then I get a call back like, no, we don't move it at any cost. You have to call a private company. Are there private carcass removal companies? Can I field dress it? Because I kind of wanted to practice my field dressing. And they were like, no, ma'am, please do not disassemble the deer. So I was like, okay. And so they were like, okay, I finally get the right guy on the phone, but it's the end of the day. He's like, it's almost 5 o'clock. I'm going to have to send a fax over to Park and Rec so they can send a fax over to, I was like, a fax? This is 2021. Y'all still faxing people? It's like, ma'am, yes, this is city government, blah, blah. I was thinking, with all my tax dollars, y'all can't buy, you can't email a form? But what, y'all don't have Word? Because you can do a fillable form on Word and I could just, if you fill it out, if you send it to me, I'll fill it out and I will just drive it over to whoever. And they were like, no, ma'am, we're going to have to, there's a procedure. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I call around to all these different offices. Still, it's day 3. It's still a dead deer in my yard. Now my dogs are walking back there and I'm freaking out. Like, what if my dogs eat it? What if something happens? I don't want them to get deer ticks. I am a wreck. So finally, it's grass cutting day. And the very nice gentlemen who come to cut my grass are out there and they're cutting and blowing and they have their masks on. They're doing whatever. There's 4 dudes who show up. I have a big yard, but they get the whole thing done. Front, back, trimming, everything in about 15 minutes. It's amazing. So I'm sitting here watching them, right? And I'm like, wonder when they're going to notice that deer. And they get back there and none of them speak English. So I don't know what the conversation was. Also, they have blowers on and I don't speak whatever language they speak. So, you see one dude blowing the leaves, and then he stops. And I was like, oh, then it's full entertainment for me right now. I'm like looking out the window like, what they gonna do? So they get out there to the deer. And one guy's like, hey, calls over, I guess, the supervisor. I don't know, the guy who was on the riding mower thing. And so they have some conversation. And then you see him pointing, whatever. And I was like, how's this gonna go? And so two of them opened the gate because apparently there's a deer fence between my house, between my yard and the forest. How'd that get there? Whatever. I might have put it out there years ago. Child, my memory is bad. We've lived here a long time. So two dudes pick up the deer and they're like, 1, 2, and they toss it the 3 feet into the forest, and then they just keep on blowing and finish out the yard or whatever. And I was like, it was that easy. And so as they're coming back towards the house, I was like, hey, thank you. Gracias for getting rid of the deado, dero, muerto animal. I don't know. My Spanish is not good. I was like, wait. I didn't have any cash. And I wasn't trying to touch money because it was a pandemic. And I think that all the money, I think the virus came from money. People touching it and stuff. I don't know. Or bats, whatever. China, unclear. So all I had here was like some alcohol, and I don't drink. But my son at the time was working on private planes. Like he was doing stuff on private jets. So all the time he would bring home these like, not airline bottles, because it turns out when you fly private, you don't get the airline bottles. You get full-size bottles of stuff. My son had created an entire bar in his bedroom, even though he drinks maybe once a year. So I just gave them bottles of liquor that had like the airline logo on it. They're like, here, please enjoy some of NetJet's finest. And so they took the liquor and they were like, gracias. And I was like, thank you so much. And then 3 days later, I get a call from a dude in the city who was like, hey, we got a fax that you have a deer. And I was like, never mind, I got it. He's like, well, it's going to cost you $135. Sir, no. I pay Jose and them. They got rid of it in 2 seconds. No fuss, no muss. Nobody need to send a fax. 2 dudes just got together, tossed it into the forest. And then I went and looked like about a week later, not a trace of it was left. Nothing. Not a hoof, no intestines, no eyeballs, nothing. Not even bones. And I was like, Mother Nature is going to Mother Nature. Now, did my dogs eat it? Lord Jesus, I hope not. But something tells me that that deer just became a part of the circle of life. It's fertilizer out there in the forest. And I know there's like wolves and coyotes and whatever living back there. I hope they enjoyed it. And it only cost me a couple bottles of liquor that I was not going to drink anyway. No faxes needed to be sent. Turns out, if you rely on city government to do things, they can get it done, but slowly. And with a fax machine, and with great aggravation. Girls, also, the police in this town do not enjoy using their guns. Who knew? Y'all go to the range. Isn't that what y'all practice for? Like, you can't shoot a deer. You scared to shoot your gun? Hand me your gun, I'll shoot it. But apparently that's not how that works. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this episode of Apropos of Nothing, because this was a nothing story, but I just felt like that since me and you are cool like that now, I just needed to share with you about the things that are going on in my life. Plus, I like animal stories. Okay, you have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out the door. Bye.